You good girl. Oh my gosh. Look at my perfect puppies. Who's perfect? You are? And you are? Love you. I love you. We are here today. We're going to do a video about what is going on with the drip system. So it's been a few days, maybe a few weeks that I've been running the drip system, and I've got a pretty good handle on the things that I need for the system and some of the things that I didn't need, or things that are not working out very well right now that I actually need to already replace. So I'm going to kind of walk through some of those things. And I will say it has been a frustrating process. It's been a lot of learning the hard way, and it is a ton of work. Like I've said in other videos before, it is worth it because I don't have to stand there with a hose, and I can make sure that things get water a little more evenly. And it is still a ton of work, just in a different kind of way. Now let's start with the positives. I bought a kit off of Amazon. I bought 2 of them to get me started. And that worked out well as far as getting me started. It gave me all of the pieces, it gave me all the components, everything that I needed to help me understand what was actually necessary in putting the system together. You guys, it's real life, folks. It's perfect. Now, if I were to do it differently, I would have only bought 1, and I'll say why in a second. But as far as positive goes, it was really great for helping me to get started and understanding what each piece did. Let's walk through some of the things that I like using, and I'll tell you why. These are all things that I really liked using and that have made it easier for me to do this system. So I'll walk through what each of these items are. Starting from the hose all the way down to the connector, I have been putting in just super basic hose splitters. So just connecting it to the garden hose, keeping it very simple. I had the timer, but I just haven't gotten myself comfortable enough to leave the water on all the time to use it. I don't actually know how best to do that, and I haven't looked into it. Maybe I will, but not right now. So I'm going to keep it simple, just a basic hose splitter. I also installed a pressure regulator. If you've looked into drip, you've probably have seen a lot of things about using a pressure regulator. I do find that it makes a difference in helping the emitters not pop off and just spray because of too much pressure. So it has really helped. Because of my hose bib configuration, I'm unable to use it on each line, but I find that you might just have to test it out. I mean, there are calculations that you can run about how many emitters you have plus gallons per hour being, and you can test your water pressure. I didn't go that far. Again, I wanted to keep this as ridiculously simple and just as stupid as possible. Then you're going to come down to the thing that attaches to your actual 1/2-inch tubing. The whole system is really customizable to exactly what's going to work for you if you just get the right parts. I did mention before that I bought a kit off of Amazon. I bought 2 of them initially, and that did help to give me a jump start about what I needed. The connectors that you need, you could always pick these up at Lowe's or Home Depot or any hardware store. Amazon pieces are pretty easy to find. So you're going to connect your 1/2-inch tubing to something like this, and it's going to plug directly into your hose bib. Moving on to the 1/2-inch tubing, I made the mistake of using vinyl tubing, and I found out the hard way when I went to turn on the water in the evening after the tubing had been sitting in the sun all day, and it popped out and it sprayed in all sorts of underground areas that I had already buried. So I had to dig it all up, I had to fix it, reconnect everything. It was incredibly frustrating. What I found out along the way is that I used vinyl tubing, which is not meant to sit in the sun. So if your tubing is going to be exposed to the elements, like most people's outdoor, go for poly. It's a harder plastic. I was excited about the vinyl because it was so easy to attach it. Well, that's what happens when it's so easy to attach it. So this is a much harder plastic. Okay, moving on to some of the connectors, some of the things that get the 1/4-inch tubing distributed is little connectors like these. Now, I don't have any of the 4 connectors left. I'll show video up on the screen of the 4 connectors that I used all over the garden, but I have this that has a 1 on it right here. And I do actually really like these quick connects, and I'll show you in just a second how to use the quick connect. String this onto your hose, connect your hose to here, and then go ahead and close it up. I love things like this for areas. There are certain flowers that I don't want to overwater, so I can cut water to any one particular area just by turning this. It makes it so much easier to have a little more control over where the water is being dispersed. At the end of my runs, I use a cap. Again, you string it onto your tube, this on your tube, as this is strung to your tube, and you close it up. It's super simple. 1/4-inch tubing, very easy to find, very inexpensive. Again, get poly, do not get the vinyl. For the 1/4-inch tubing, some of the connectors that I really love using, I used probably more of this than anything else. It's a barbed T coupler. These nice pointed edges make it very easy to get that into the tubing. And let me just demonstrate my new favorite little thing. I'll show you in a minute the caps that I absolutely will never use again. I loathe them. I found these little caps. String this little guy right in there like a little bead. Put the cap right in there. And that feels so nice and snug. Close this up, and this now caps this off. I'll show you some instances where I've used plenty of these. As far as the emitters themselves, now I've not used a button dripper. I found those to be a little expensive. They were kind of pricey, but I have used a ton of these. These have ended up being my favorite one because you can do a rain or kind of a fountain drip, or you can just close it and get just a steady drip going. So I have most on just a steady drip. Some other things that have come in handy, the 1/2-inch tubing, so much a harder plastic. It's a little harder to stay down, so landscape spikes work really great at holding everything into the ground. Keep a good pair of scissors on you the whole time that you're doing this. It makes it really easy. If you do a lot of work outside, or if you're on your knees a lot, this is a lifesaver. I use this constantly. It's just a foam pad. I think this thing was like 10 bucks at Lowe's, worth every penny. Let's talk about the things that were part of this process that I absolutely cannot stand, and I will not use them again. These. They're a rain dripper. They just drip out fountains. They're actually kind of hard to adjust once they're in the ground. I often find that where I've put these in, it just emits a stream, which doesn't really target anything. So it's kind of a little harder to get these balanced, to get them targeted toward anything. And I find the whole reason for installing drip is to have a more targeted watering system. I used them in a few places where I ran out of the blue ones, but then I ended up buying a giant pack of the blue ones and just replaced these wherever I could. I am not a fan of these because they've got the blunt little tips. They don't really grip very well too. I find them to be annoying. Once I discovered these, I just could not go back to these, even though I had a ton of them left. Speaking of T connectors, do not get these. They're awful. They suck. They're really hard to adjust. This comes off. I guess they work in certain applications. I've seen like people hang them and they can make a big spray, which I guess is effective. I can't stand them. I'm actually about to redo a bed that I put all of those down in. I'm going to take them out and replace them with the blue emitters that I do like. Also cannot stand these caps. I find them to be absolutely useless. They're constantly popping out. I cannot stand them. So again, ever since I discovered the green caps instead, I just completely stopped using these. What I also do not like is the vinyl tubing, which I don't have any of that left to show because I used it all up. So hopefully I'm not replacing the entire thing slowly throughout the season. But I'm just going to be really careful about my watering. I'm going to only water in the morning from now on, and not at the end of a really hot day when the tubing is most flexible. And then from there, with all these pieces that I just mentioned, it's a matter of configuring things in a way that really works for your watering needs and for the length that you're trying to cover. I do have some areas today where I need to add some 1/2-inch tubing because my 1/4-inch tubing, I'm trying to stretch it way too far that it's not reaching where it needs to go. So I need to add some 1/2-inch tubing to the run. You realize very quickly that the number of emitters that you're using plus the size of tubing that you're using really does start to diminish the further along in the run you get. So water pressure is a real thing. You can't have too much because your drips are going to blow all over the place, and you can't have not enough because the water will not reach its destination. All right, I don't have any of the 4 connectors left, so I'm going to do something pretty interesting. I'm actually kind of impressed with myself, and I think this is going to work well. So I'm cutting this. This is what's so cool about this. You can really configure it any way that you need to. Make sure there's no dirt in So that's where I'm going to leave off today's video. If you found this video useful, if you want to see more videos where I talk about my mistakes, just go ahead and subscribe. I would love for you to be part of this community. I'm just trying to make videos about the reality of building something like this. I have no idea what I'm doing, and it really just matters to me that I continue to try. I don't get as frustrated as I used to in the past because I realize like I'm not a professional and I am trying my best, and there are enough of those moments now where I can sit back and reflect on what I've built and what I'm building. Just stick it through until you get to that point where you can actually see the results of what you're doing. And it might not be to where you want it to be. I really just want to share my own journey of working hard, being proud of what I'm building, and not being ashamed of sharing mistakes along the way. So if you like this kind of content, subscribe, like the video. It tells me that people are listening, because there aren't a lot of people listening right now, and that is fine. That is totally fine. I am grateful for anybody who watches and stays to the end, because I think I'm fun. I think I'm funny. I think my dogs and my flages are cute, and I hope you do too. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very soon.